A Privy Council decision brings Bimini dredging to a halt. A man murdered on his 54th birthday, plus land fit for Golden Knights. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Dana Smith and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, Resorts World Bimini's multi-million-dollar dredging project must stop immediately now that the Privy Council in London has granted an injunction filed on behalf of the Bimini Blue Coalition. This latest development in the controversial issue comes days after the Court of Appeal denied the coalition's injunction, and attorney Fred Smith vowed to take it all the way to the London court. Paige McCartney has the details.
Opponents of the controversial dredging project scored a legal victory today when the Privy Council issued an injunction halting dredging. The ruling requires Resorts World Bimini to prove it has adequate permits for dredging. Members of the Bimini Blue Coalition insist the seafloor dredging operation is destroying the island's pristine and ecologically significant reefs. Resorts World Bimini commissioned the dredging as a part of its plan to build a 1,000-foot pier and turning basin to accommodate cruise ships delivering up to 500,000 guests a year to its casino and hotel on the tiny island in the northern Bahamas. This week, leaders of the Bahamas National Trust asked government to end dredging off Bimini by Resorts World until the developer can correct an apparent failure to contain the spread of siltation from the dredge area, which the trust claims could cause irreversible environmental damage. Earlier this week, Florida-based ocean engineer Ronald J. Connington, who has 35 years of experience in port and beach dredging, added his voice to the growing chorus of those calling for a halt. He said photos of the dredging operation show proper steps are not being taken to prevent silt from killing off marine life and some of the world's best-known coral reefs. Bimini currently has a population of less than 2,000, and residents are worried that the transient population explosion will overrun the island and forever alter its way of life, built in part on the pride of being surrounded by crystal-clear turquoise seas that are home to 14 of the most treasured and valuable coral reefs in the world. The Free National Movement accused the Christie administration of failing to adequately protect Bimini's precious resources and neglecting its duty to account to the people of Bimini. However, Environment Minister Kendra Dorset said this week government remains committed to the protection of the Bahamian environment and is making every effort to ensure that projects ongoing within the country are being carried out in a way that meets environmental standards. NB12 caught up with West End and Bimini Member of Parliament and Tourism Minister Obi Wolchcombe, who told us briefly that he doesn't believe this injunction will slow the progress on the resort. He added that because this matter is now before the courts, comments would be limited and would have to come from the Attorney General's office. Reporting for NB12 from the Office of the Prime Minister, I'm Paige McCartney.
Despite the National Security Minister's assertion that there has been a systematic reduction in crime, NB12's records show murders are up 8%. The latest killing happened on Lightbourne Avenue off Farrington Road this morning during an attempted armed robbery. Police say today is the victim's 54th birthday. Bonnie Toot reports.
Stunned residents woke up to the sounds of gunshots this morning as an attempted armed robbery at this neighborhood grocery store behind me turned fatal.
We need to take our community back from the people who are trying to destroy our community and our young people.
Head of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, says the proprietor of this convenience store on Lightbourne Avenue was preparing to open the establishment around 6 this morning when a gunman walked up and attempted to rob him.
He was wearing a white cloth over his face, produced a firearm, and attempted to make his way into the store. While doing this, a patron pulled up, exited his vehicle, and walked towards the store. On seeing him, the assailant turned in the direction of the customer and discharged a single shot hitting him to the chest.
Roll says the victim ran to the back of the store to get away from his shooter. However, he collapsed and died on the ground. His assailant then ran onto Saunders Road.
We have a team of officers now in search of suspect. As much as we know, he's low haircut, dark, slim.
The proprietor was not robbed and walked away unharmed. The CDU chief says today was the victim's 54th birthday and offered his condolences to his wife, who was on the scene as his body was removed from the blood-soaked ground and carried away. One relative was so distraught that she had to be removed from the murder scene. Off-duty police officer Frederick Delancey, who grew up in this community, called this morning's incident tragic.
This is a nice, small, knitted community with good people, because I grew up in this area. But we find that a lot of strangers come out of their areas and come in here and wreak a lot of havoc, and then they leave the community.
This latest killing comes 2 weeks after National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage told reporters there has been an overall systematic reduction in crime in the Bahamas. However, our records show murders increased by 8% between January 1st and May 23, 2014, when compared to this period in 2013. There were 46 murders recorded during this period last year compared to the 50 murders recorded so far this year. Superintendent Roll says police remain committed to stamping out crime.
We have a very large contingent of police officers that are on the road, been on the road all night, and we will make our presence felt throughout the community.
This latest killing brings the country's homicide count for the year to 50. Reporting from Rock Crusher for NB12, I'm Vonique Tude.
An appellate court judge yesterday blasted the failure of the legislature to repeal mandatory minimum sentences, months after the High Court's president asked the government to revisit the law. Justice of Appeal Christopher Blackman made his remarks during the appeal of DeMille Campbell, whose 4-year sentence for having 7 pounds of marijuana was cut to 18 months. Blackman noted that Parliament had failed to revisit the 2011 amendment to the Penal Code that required magistrates to impose a sentence in the range of 4 to 7 years for drug possession with intent to supply. He insisted the drug matters have been clogging up the system. Blackman said that in the future, the appellate court would remit the matters to the magistrates for resentencing instead of imposing new sentences at the appeal stage. About a year and a half since Prime Minister Perry Christie announced the Golden Knights would receive land in New Providence for their 2012 Summer Olympics win, the men today were formally presented with the deeds to their own parcel of land in New Providence. At the office of the Prime Minister this afternoon, Ramon Miller, Michael Matthew, Demetrius Pinder, and Chris Brown were praised by Christie for catapulting the Bahamas into international fame with their gold medal in the men's 4x400 meter relay. The Prime Minister noted although the land represents a token of the government's appreciation, no dollar amount can be placed on what the Golden Knights have contributed to the country.
You cannot place a value on pride and a sense of achievement. You cannot place a value on becoming exemplars, young men who will serve as examples to other young men who aspire to be good or great in whatever their respective endeavors are. But it is for me to say that the grant is for a parcel of land containing by at measurement 20,000 square feet and is located just off West Bay Street in an area commonly known as Gamble Heights.
The grants were signed by Prime Minister Perry Christie and dated August 2, 2013, a year after Christie had first announced his intentions to grant the Golden Knights land back in August 2012.
You made all Bahamians everywhere very proud in that unforgettable moment. As Prime Minister, I made a commitment on behalf of the government of the Bahamas that we would seek to reward you in a most tangible way. And in this regard, you have joined other Olympic gold medal winners who were accorded similar recognition. And this afternoon, I'm here to present deeds of grants.
In addition to receiving land, the men were also gifted with self-portraits drawn by celebrity artist Jamal Roll. The Golden Knights will also receive a collective $40,000 on Monday, according to the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Dr. Daniel Johnson.
And the Secretary General. Prime Minister, this is a great day for us in the Bahamas. We want these young men to know that they're here to receive their just rewards. Today, they will get a token from your side, and on Monday morning at 9:30, we will be presenting them at the Ministry of Tourism with $40,000 cash for their remarkable deed.